Hi, everyone. If you're thinking that you want to come sit down, this is the perfect moment because we are up and then someone just got up. That's really bad news for non-owners. My name is Rebecca Goober. I'm the founding director of the Neighborhood and Urban Center for Jewish Life. And we are really excited to present this panel on the future of Jewish bubbly beverages. We agree that seltzer is part of that future, but we think that there's more. At the Neighborhood, we're bringing people together for Jewish community and cultural events. We like to say we bring Brooklyn energy into Jewish experience to spark meaning and joy, and I think we're doing that today. We hope you're excited to hear from our panelists about new drinks that they have created for us today, and then you'll get to taste afterwards right over there. So they'll make it on stage. We're really excited to be here with Barry in the Seltzer Museum. Barry told us we are the first partner to be part of this event, which we feel really proud of. Seltzer is part of our cultural heritage. I'm really excited that we're going to be thinking about the future as well. I want to thank Val Meisler, Jeffrey Aspitz, Dama Tamir, and Michael Garland Turkel for accepting our invitation to make drinks. And we're going to be led through this process by Aaron Miller, and then we're going to taste the drinks together. Are you all ready? Okay, I'm going to invite everyone on stage. Our drinks makers here. Are you here? So what we're going to do is each of them is going to go down and talk about and demonstrate their drink. We're being led through this experience by Aaron Miller, who draws from the cuisines of Tel Aviv and his Eastern European heritage, and specializes in open fire cooking, which we're not doing here today. But I encourage you to taste what he does. He was the chef owner of Fizzing, a critically acclaimed BYO in Philadelphia, where he specialized in zero waste, non-industrial sourcing, while addressing how a restaurant can serve its employees, guests, and community in an approach called relationship cuisine. I'm going to turn it over to him, and we're going to talk through these exciting beverages.
How's it going, everybody? Cool.
How's it going, everyone? Seltzer.
So the video to my right is Jeffrey Oskowitz of the Good Filteria. Who here has read his book, The Good Filter Manifesto? Woo! That's right. This guy. So we are going to be demoing these beverages that everyone has prepared, but I sort of wanted to get a sense of this community that's represented on the stage. I think there's a big component of egg creams that represents almost a dog whistle for an approach that is, let's call it a slow approach, or a non-industrial approach, as I like to refer to it. And there's the looking back to the nostalgia of it and what it represents in terms of our heritage and our childhoods. But also, I think when you look back to food in this way, there's a desire to see more of a simplicity, that there's fewer ingredients, so there's fewer ingredients that don't make sense, that there's fewer ingredients that are manufactured as opposed to known. And as we take a look back to those processes, but also look forward to the beverages that you're presenting here that come out of that. How do you draw that line between what was and what you hope will be?
Wow. So what you're asking is where do we hold nostalgia in this, and how do we move things forward? I would say for me, when I'm thinking about making foods that reference the deli or New York and all these things, I want it to evoke something. I don't need it to be a direct reference. I don't want to make the same exact thing. And I think it's a mistake. So often we try to make the same thing that once was. What does it look like to to play with that memory and to use flavor to do that. And so I feel like I like to use this is a baseline. I like to play from there. But yeah, that is sort of the inspiration for what I did here today. Is always kind of like I want this feeling more than the flavor. If that makes sense.
Especially because I have a restaurant with my brother and very much informed by childhood Israel and just living our professional life out of a very close relationship. Everything I do is about memory and nostalgia and meaningful things. So it's something I'm really because feel grateful for doing that.
I'm not nearly as emotive as these two. I'm a very analytical, logistical person. Ex-folks who love scientific research in the food field. And I wrote a book about vinegar. And I tracked the origins of how to make vinegar, but also in this cultural context. So I like the anthropology aspect too. But when I think about things, it's usually how can I make it shelf stable? How can it be a preservative? So like how can they have lasting effects and not necessarily with cutting effects?
I grew up on egg creams. I'm the fifth generation of my family to live in New York. The fourth generation to live in Brooklyn. My great-great-grandfather actually designed soda fountains. So this is in my blood, and nostalgia is a really big thing for me. But I also think something beautiful about an egg cream is that you have to make it in the present. It can't be batched. It can't be sold and put on an aisle in a store. It needs to be made right now, and you need to be there to make it. So for me, I kind of like to blend nostalgia with what I bring as a Gen Z lover of egg creams to try to get this to be the drink of my generation, like it was for my grandparents, my great-grandparents, which looks like taking a look at it and saying that it's perfect as is, but how can you kind of have a little bit of fun with it like a child?
Nice. Well, let me introduce these people actually before we move on. So immediately to my right is Jeffrey Oskowitz, a pickler, entrepreneur, and thought leader. He co-founded the Gefilteria, a culinary venture that reimagines Ashkenazi Jewish cooking, and co-authored, as we mentioned, the award-winning cookbook, The Gefilte Manifesto. He teaches cooks, and lectures on food history to communities across the globe. His writings on food and culture have appeared in the New York Times, The Atlantic, and among other publications. He's featured in Hulu's Taste the Nation and tapped to represent Yiddish culture by the Smithsonian Folklife Festival. He got his start in the food world as a pickle apprentice on an organic farm in the Berkshires, and has been sharing his love for the art of lacto fermentation ever since. Has anyone here pickled at home? Has anyone here lacto fermented pickled at home? Is anyone here planning on trying lacto fermentation pickling at home? Everyone should be saying yes here, because it's a great Sunday activity for next Sunday. So hit up Jeffrey for that info. Then to Jeffrey's right is Naamat Amir, who was born and raised in Mefalot, Israel, and moved to New York City in 2000. She studied philosophy and psychology at Hunter College while moonlighting in the hospitality industry, working in places such as Employees Only, the Macau Trading Company, Craft Steak, Mainland, and Smith & Mills. Upon graduation, it became clear that her passion lies in restaurants, sustainability, and education. In 2010, along with her brother Asaf, opened Lighthouse in South Williamsburg, a sustainable, socially responsible, and forward-thinking restaurant. In August 2016, they opened a second location named Lighthouse Outpost in Soho, and recently opened Messi on Sullivan Street, a Japanese Mediterranean-inspired skewer, sandwich, and stand shop. Who here has been to any of these spots? Who here has been to Lighthouse? Who here is planning on going to Messi? And then continuing down our panel, we have Michael Harlan Turner, a once aspiring chef turned photographer, author, and podcast host, who for years captured the inner workings and kitchens for his award-winning Back of the House project, which documented the lives of chefs in the restaurant world. As the former photo editor of Edible Brooklyn and Edible Manhattan, his recurring Back of the House series was nominated for a James Beard Award in visual storytelling. He's photographed over a dozen cookbooks, such as Chris Constantino's Vocal Good, which he co-authored, owning him another Beard nomination for a single subject cookbook. In 2017, Turbo wrote and photographed his first cookbook, Acid Tree, Travels in the World of Vinegar, which won the IACP Award for Culinary Travel Writing. In 2019, he became an adjunct professor at New York University teaching food and photography, the history, concepts, and techniques to photographing food in its best light. Turkle currently lives in Brooklyn, New York, and continues to document the food world through word and image. And finally, we have Val Weissman, as mentioned, a fifth-generation New Yorker whose love for the city runs deep to the extent that her bat mitzvah had a New York subway theme with the Seltzer boys making egg creams at her bat mitzvah. Now she and her partner Kai run Eggheads, crafting artisan syrups like lavender, orange creamsicle, and bring the egg cream into the Gen Z community and give it a modern spin at markets, private events, and more. Val hopes Eggheads helps people reconnect with their inner child, whether it's their first time trying the iconic drink or a nostalgic sip that takes them back to Brooklyn summers. Aside from that, Val is a PhD candidate at the Queen's University Belfast in the subject of child rights. So I think we should move on to beverages. So we're going to start with Jeffrey's beverage. This is Dr. Jeffrey's New School Deli Soda.
Yes. Hello, you hear me? Okay, excellent. How many of you are fans of the Jewish Deli? Okay. Can I just, you let me soda flavors at the deli. Don't use soda flavors. Cream soda, number one, most sold Dr. Brown's flavor, by the way. What else? Black cherry. Number two, Seltzer's number three, but really the real number one. Any root beer, Montreal folks? Okay, any Montreal, Deli folks? Black cherry? No? Okay. So, the deli is my inspiration for my soda. I grew up in the New York area. My father was a kid from Brooklyn, and going to the deli, when you couldn't drink soda at home, but deli soda was permissible. That was your moment to shine. As a kid, I started with soda like most kids, right? As my palate developed, I moved on to root beer. But it's like, for a kid, it's kind of more earthy flavor. It's nothing that you expect from a sweet, bubbly, fruity drink. Black cherry introduced the more complexity. And only as an adult was I finally ready for celery. For those who don't know, celery is the celery seed. We have a fan celery there. So I'll just tell you a quick story. My father once brought home from Passover Dr. Brown's celery in a 2-liter bottle, and I yelled at him. I said, "It's disgusting. Why would you even do this?" I never tasted it. Just the mere thought of celery as a beverage uninteresting me. And yet, in my 20s, I tasted it at the Second Avenue Deli with a stocking sandwich, and I realized there is no better pairing for a stocking sandwich than a celery soda. In fact, I have never ordered another soda at a deli if they have celery. So just to make that case. However, for this event, I was thinking, how can I honor my love of the deli soda? How could I pay homage by creating a new flavor or new flavors? And so I decided to really think about that late 19th century moment of when all sorts of different manufacturers were creating new soda flavors. Like we have Dr. Pepper's, we have Coca-Cola, we have Cellmate tonic, which was ubiquitous, actually incredibly popular at the moment. And so I just wanted to bring that in. So I decided to take soda flavors in honor of the pastrami on glass. What could that be? What could that possibly be? So I'm gonna make 2 sodas quickly. I'm just to walk you through what I did. So let's start here. So I have a rye bread soda, or rising, we're calling it. And I have a fizz strawberry. So the strawberry flavored soda as well. Okay? So this is a little funky, a little fun. But my inspiration was what we talked about at the beginning, how to evoke a memory. And at the same time make something delicious and pleasing and unexpected, right? To bring a little bit of fun to the soda experience. So Ari, I'm gonna make you these sodas, and I'm happy to talk you through what I did. And but this was an opportunity to explore. You're all gonna get to taste all of these beverages. So so we're gonna start by making a rye bread soda. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Does that sound like something you'd want to drink?
It kind of does, actually. But tell me what constitutes the rye flavor that is going to take us there.
Well, it's a good question. So there is no rye bread in the making of the rye soda. So I have been making a caraway syrup soda for many years. Caraway being the seed on the seeded rye, right? So it just takes you back. But I found that I wanted to go one level deeper. So I think I added to I brought some visuals here, my caraway seeds, for anyone who wants to later smell and have that evocative moment. I also added some barley malt syrup. So anyone who makes bagels at home, you'll probably use barley malt syrup and flavor to give it that the last to see kind of darker rye experience, which may not be the perfect deli rye, but we're gonna let it go for now. So I'm gonna make that for you, because you're gonna start with the rye soda, then you're gonna work your way up to the strawberry. This is a deli soda concept event. Okay, so I'm gonna get started here.
Jeffrey, have you seen any sandwich-inspired sodas in your travels?
You know, I don't think I've ever seen a direct reference so blatantly to a sandwich in this way. I will say I was exploring, and we talked earlier, thought about who's my ideas, and I was exploring a chicken soup inspired soda. I found I didn't know how to go about it. It was sort of newer territory. So I'm going to start here. Maybe that's the next step. We'll see how this goes. Let's get some here. Let's get this. Okay, so I am looking a lot of hit on this here. Okay, so look at that. Does it look like you're drinking a nice beer here? Now, the other reference I want to mention, how many people here are Foss enjoyers? Okay, we got anyone never heard of Foss? Foss is essentially a category of fermented drinks, very popular in Eastern Europe. Today, Foss is mostly a malt beverage of some kind, but it makes it a great native of scaled rye beer. And you can actually find it in right beach. You can go in Russia and find it. Okay, I have 2 more days and half of Seltzer is actually in here. So let me know if it's too sweet, if it's why I support.
So you smell that sort of maltiness from the syrup for sure. The caraway comes through as well. It smells like a loaf of bread. But we talked about this in our own personal conversations, and I talked about this with bakers, that when you eat rye bread and it doesn't have caraway seeds in it, you probably don't identify it as rye, and you can eat almost any bread with caraway seed in it, and it creates that illusion.
This one, to look at the taste.
Oh, that's actually quite rich.
Yes, rye, so for a better adjective. So the goal, I would say, what's fun, and I've been making soda syrups for many years. What's fun is to play with flavor in different ways, and I want to be stepping into a bakery that I'm thinking this way.
Yeah, that's really trippy. That's cool.
Okay, so now we're going to take it one step further. We have the rye bread. What goes on the rye? The strawberry. The strawberry. Look, I talked to some Michiganders, and they all said corned beef. We're in New York. The strawberry is king. So we're going to make a little strawberry soda. I'm calling this the fizz strawberry. Okay.
So I've never had soda with meat in it before.
Well, I would say no pastrami and no meat in the making of the pastrami soda. So I'm going to make it for you, and we'll see if you can guess.
It's kind of like an egg cream in that way.
We'll get to that.
In the spirit of egg cream, exactly. Okay, so let's give you some pastrami soda here.
Is everyone excited to try this afterwards?
Okay, we're a little slower here. To avoid that. Let's get that in earlier. Okay.
So Jeffrey, I think when it comes to pastrami, things that I think about in terms of flavors are the notes of that spice rub, the coriander, the pepper, the smoke that we cook. How do you incorporate those into the syrup?
Well, first off, in the smell, I want you to take a whiff. What do you get in here?
So definitely get that sort of musty smokiness for sure.
Yeah.
And you can sort of smell that sort of sweetness as well from the syrup.
What's amazing about the mind is the way that it can play tricks on you.
That's also pretty trippy.
I have a little mustard water. I want to give it a little spritz because you have to have mustard with the pastrami, right? Okay. So just to give you a full experience here, and
I'm really excited for everyone to try this. This is really cool.
yeah. So what I do here? You break down what pastrami is. At the end of the day, it's kind of just like white beef except for the rub, right? And what is the rub? What's on the rub? What are the main ingredients? And now, pepper, salt. So there's actually no salt in this, but there's pepper and there's coriander. Those are the two main ingredients in the pastrami rub. And now I wanted the smokiness. So I tried going at it in a few different ways. And it's a lapsang susham tea, the smoky tea that I use to make a simple syrup, and use that as the smoke element. And I toasted those seeds. And really all that this is the rub with some tea, essentially, to bring that about, and of course a little mustard element. But yeah, this is
it's really special. It I think it does a really good job of smoking and notion of pastrami on dry. Even more amazing that there is no actual pastrami in it, that it conjures the spirit of it and communicates it quite in.
That's anything else. I live with this in a world where people are leaving New York and maybe there aren't delis. You can have pastrami anytime. You don't need a deli and wait for a big deli to open or smoke it up. Just have a pastrami soda. Why not? So thank you all. I'm excited for you to try it. And let me know if it's
One of cleansers after the pastrami salad. So, as I mentioned, I worked in restaurants for a number of years before opening my own, and saw a lot of waste and a lot of things that I did not enjoy in the back of the house. And when my brother and I opened the restaurant, we had this idea to change the paradigm of what it means to be a restaurant in the city, urban environment. And that is the technology used in front of the house. Farm to table was definitely something that you see, but wasn't front. And just sustainability in general was something that people didn't understand anything about. This is 15 years ago. And we wanted to support local farmers, and we wanted to have organic produce and all of these things come at a high cost. And with that, we had the understanding that we need to go to a build the plan for time. And so we're reading recipes from my house. We call it recipes to supper. And we attempted to think about how to create homemade recipes and then be very thoughtful about what the best is and how we're going to use that. We're buying organic citrus. You're obviously juicing the power and one for the but the fruits are delicious and they're wonderful. They're thin and tasty and working on their own. So we always use first. And essentially they can always we call it sample, we spice it with other spices and herbs and things like that. And I highly recommend the opportunity to think about it and use it in all your at home as well. We use this approach in our spritzes, in our cocktails, and I'll have Lola and all of these things. So you can see me here, this beautiful guy, and I'm just going to put it in the glass. And this is my garden.
Now, how is the Williams sacrament itself made?
So you're just feeling the citrus using sugar to extract the oil. You can also do the little salt. And you want to sit for a couple of hours, a couple of days, and afterwards you add water and strain. It's as simple as that. This one has some chili in it and some rosemary as well. And you want to get really nice and safe because you have that oiliness, it's a little bit bitter and obviously sweet and really, really refreshing. And
Thank you. Because the audience can't see it.
you know, we talk in our conversation, you know, I'm telling you those things, right? So we have our syrup here, and it's a little bit cloudy from all that oil.
The process is you take your peels and pair them with sugar and let the sugar extract the oils and any liquids that remain. And that gets strained off, and that's what that liquid is. That is flavored, seasoned with.
This one is seasoned with chili and basil, but you can use anything. We also add some water to it to make it more of a syrupy kind of thing. And voila.
Taste. And it's really refreshing.
It's nice to say with afterwards.
I would have this with a sandwich. So when you, is this something that you serve at the restaurant as well?
We use it as an ingredient, so it's not necessarily served on its own, but it's just something that's used in different cocktails, and we make our own menu in house, so we're unless we will not into egg whites, and so we're making coconut whites, and then this that's the juice and that. So it's just this way of thinking about different ingredients and it's challenging ourselves to always be very thoughtful about how we're eating something and how we're going to interact with it. And take sustainability from this dark place that everyone says, oh, it's a weird one with the jar. No, it's exciting, it's creative, and it makes our staff more involved with the whole process. So it's an ongoing commitment to just thinking about it from a different point of view.
Yeah, I think that there's an aspect to sustainability that is creativity driven. And I think that's something exciting to see that's expressed in this glass in front of us. And as you talk about, and a lot of chefs who practice this in their kitchens talk about in the sense of the coupled recipe. That if one recipe produces this, then what happens the other half? And I think a great way to know if a chef is ever seriously interested in this is wait till they mention egg whites. Egg whites is like the number one, I think, sort of dog whistle of, okay, you take this seriously.
In these days, we're making this treatment of having a very hot moment. I think economically speaking is a very important way to think about these things. So, holistically and on pride and with curiosity and creativity.
Very cool. Thank you. Michael.
I'm going to be the weird one here. So I looked at everyone else's drinks and I wanted to be an outlier. I always find myself in that position. But I was invited because I'm a vinegar expert. Now, who here takes a shot of apple cider vinegar in the morning? Not many, because it sucks. It is the most unpalatable thing. I'm a vinegar expert, and I'm telling you, do not do this. It creates agita, it's a diarrhea. I mean, there are so many studies, lowers blood pressure, all of that is inclusive, because we all have our own internal pH. But vinegar is a great thing in the kitchen, and I think a great thing in drinks too, because it is a salt preservative. So when we're talking logistically about drinks on the market, this is a great ingredient to get past, say, DOH, to get that piece of paper saying, yes, this product is a viable product. But it is also economical. I mean, talk about the sustainability front, the holistic approach. Does anyone know how to make vinegar? I know someone that does. This guy. But any starch that can turn into a sugar, that can turn into an alcohol, can then be fermented into acetic acid, which is vinegar. So in food waste, I was in a cooking restaurant for 10 to 15 years, I was constantly fermenting things. And sorry, Jeffrey, I'm not a lacto guy, I'm a acetic guy. I love the vinegar pickle. My kid is half Jewish, so he fascinates that. But the thing about vinegar that I love is that it is a pure form of flavor plus that acetic acid. But most vinegars on the market, you know, they're that gut punch that makes you cough and wheeze. But when I was thinking about the drink, I thought that historically, way historically, in Roman times there was a drink called Posca, and it was a honey-based vinegar infused with a whole bunch of herbs that they drank through Socratic forms. At that time, there was not seltzer in it, but it has evolved over time, and you see the Caribbean switchel or haymaker punch in the turn of the century, using similar ingredients introduced in citrus and fruits. But vinegar was still an important part of that. That has turned into switchel, which took over the Northeast Kingdom. You see the drink itself a lot in Vermont. I don't know why it's tied to the United States so much. But the thing is, you do not need much of vinegar as a drink. And it's a potent thing. It's a volatile compound. But when it interacts with another volatile compound, it is a fascinating hybrid. So, you know, when I do vinegar in the morning, I don't do it alone. I do it with seltzer. And it's a funny thing because, I mean, we're all here because we want seltzer, right? Give it up for seltzer. Let's see. But seltzer in the same way, a volatile compound, aromatic compound. Carbonic acid is an acid. And when it hits your nose, you know that tickle. You know that cough if you're trying to drink too much at once. You've seen that TikTok with that guy chugging it, hitting his head on the garage. Yes, you've definitely seen that one. So when you add those two acids together, acetic acid and carbonic acid, it's a fascinating pairing. Because one actually subdues the other. So I'm going to give you first, we're going to start with a shot of vinegar. And I already primed it out by having this. But this is an interesting vinegar. It's made by a vinegar maker in upstate New York, by an ex-chef named Cesare Casella. And he's using only New York State ingredients. So the first vinegar that introduced was an apple cider vinegar. The second one, Concord grapes. New York State Concord grapes. So when I go passage up,
You want to run to the bathroom? Right now. So far.
it hurts a little bit, right? It bites back there. It's a potent thing. How you feel?
It's quite nice.
Yeah.
But it's vinegar.
Yeah, it's vinegar. I mean, there's no doubt about it. When he started making this Concord grape vinegar, like I must have this, because in my book Acid Trips, I actually made a Manischewitz vinegar. I was turning everything that could be turned into vinegar. My wife is a wine writer. It's the most antithetical thing I could have done to our relationship. She did not like the in wines, does not like the vinegar project. She is not here today because I'm presenting this. But I tasted this, this is Manischewitz vinegar. This is the same thing. I mean, again, she's a winemaker, and she had a winemaker coming from France, and he had Concord grape for the first time. Guy who, you know, makes wine out of Merlot. Mind blown. He's like, what is this grape? It is a very special grape, and it is undeniable in how it's associated with my life. Making those sips of Manischewitz, you know, in Hebrew school, with my mom, etc.
Who here has tried Concord grapes as a grape? So it's like the archetype of like the grape flavor that we know from like all those grape candies.
It's Welch's. I mean, it is a very specific type of grape. But I'm going to make you this vinegar drink now with seltzer. And again, this is a very common thing. You don't need much. It's like pour it on in there. But the cool thing about these two acids interacting is that the vinegar is trying to beat the carbonic and they actually subdue each other. So it's not as big a punch. There we go. I didn't learn from Jeffrey at all. Like a little rye here, like a little pastrami, who knows? So there's no true recipe here other than I think you should have your vinegar with seltzer. It's a great delivery system without it being considered. You need more seltzer, you need more vinegar. You adjust for your health.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's exactly as we're saying. The seltzer bellows it out. It's the exact reason why if I drink vinegar, I could get with seltzer or water and I put it, not snake. You don't get that take to the back of your palate with the acid. I think it's also interesting, and something that I've experienced as a chef is, and we were talking about this earlier, both with vinegar and spices, that when you have one that is an integral product, real ingredients that have passed through an actual process as opposed to some sped up, simulated function to get to a result, that it's inherently structurally a different experience that almost always that's a pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, this vinegar is made up in New York in the slow traditional method, actually consulted on by the balsamic maker from Reggio Emilia. So it has balsamic qualities. I think Concord too does have balsamic qualities. And they are making the balsamic vinegar style of this Concord right now. It just takes much longer. So yeah, inherently good product. The actual flavor of Concord comes through. It's not like a white distilled vinegar with seltzer, but you want a good product with another great product. And that kind of we are.
So you wouldn't use white distilled vinegar and seltzer?
You don't want me to go on my diet chart. I think white distilled vinegar is the devil. I have a cease and desist from Heinz because I tried to go to their vinegar factory, but waited outside and they served it with a cease and desist.
I just described it as a cleaning process.
It is. And it's only 1% vinegar, 5% acidity, 6% acidity, culinary cleavings. There's a problem there, but that's for another time.
I'm very excited for you all to taste this as well. This is really exciting.
Thank you.
Okay. Stop.
Really excited to be here. First off, as I do want to kind of agree before by show of hands. Okay, where do we stand on vanilla versus chocolate? Vanilla. Wow. Okay, chocolate. Okay, I'm trying to get you on the team vanilla today, specifically for a lobster vanilla egg cream. So I started having egg creams probably when I also started drinking milk as a baby. I grew up on it as a fifth generation tea worker. Ari, I'm curious, do you have a sweet tooth? Where do we stand?
I have a sweet tooth in relation to egg creams and ice cream.
Perfect. Okay. So all of these ingredients are ingredients that you could also get. I do run Egghead, which is an artisan egg cream pop-up that I do at markets. I also do private events. I can make an egg cream that is a cereal milk egg cream, a lavender vanilla, pistachio chocolate, truly whatever you imagine. We do make our own syrups when we go to markets and private events. Today I have this one because I'm in grad school. I'm a PhD candidate. I did not have time to make the syrup for this, but also because I want to show how easy it is to be able to enjoy this at home. These are all ingredients that for under $10 you can be able to enjoy this in comfort in your own home too. So what we start off with is the vanilla thoughts that you get. So if you're going to be making an egg cream, this is in your brain. You've gotta be on this. I grew up on this from my grandparents, and I'm on team vanilla. I love chocolate, but personally, I think that vanilla is a really cool base to play with other flavors, which is what I do with Eggheads. And then what we do is we add in a little bit of lavender.
Do you find that when you have these alternative flavors, these artisanal flavors, and if someone shakes their head and they're like, oh, it's egg cream's chocolate, does that fill you with any sense of joy in the sense that if your mission is to bring egg creams to the generation and you encounter people who have developed a sense of snobbery to even come to the table with it so that they can have the point of reference they're carrying in their pocket and be like, oh, that's the egg cream I would never drink.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I feel like I get a blend when I'm at different markets or events. There's people that are yearning for that nostalgia. They're just excited to see that an egg cream is being offered because unfortunately it is pretty rare. But also people my age that do not know what an egg cream is, but I can get them with the, prevalent vocabulary of lobster, pistachio, and kind of play with that and then be able to give them a little history lesson and get to introduce them straight to my age is awesome. So next up we're adding milk. At my events, obviously being in Brooklyn, we do also have vegan egg creams, or else I'd be out of business in 1 second. But today we're going to go old school with some whole milk. And I'm going to try to learn from my peers, but I likely will not. We're going to see how this goes.
Does anyone in the audience have a non-traditional flavor whipped cream.
Okay, well, after this, you can let me know what you think of the lavender vanilla. And my trick is that I mix it up, and then I like to add a little bit more of that fizz to top it off, because how do you know it's a good egg cream? It's really that it adds these bubbles, which is also why it can't be mimicked. It can't be made in batch. You're not going to find an egg cream at a store. And I think that's kind of a cool inner childness that we can all try to emulate, is it has to be made in the present. You have to enjoy it in the now.
It's really nice. I mean, it holds itself in as a vanilla egg cream with this sort of floral, herbaceous note of the lavender. Yeah, that's really neat.
Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to do, is still hold on to that nostalgia of the vanilla egg cream, but also kind of take you by surprise with a little bit of a twist as well.
Is lavender egg cream your favorite of your wheelhouse, or is there another one that is because cereal milk? I fell in love with cereal milk when I was living in Tel Aviv, like as a cook, when cereal milk ice cream started happening. So I started making it long before I ever got to try it at the spot that I would name. But the idea of cereal milk, I was just absolutely. I mean, it's so easy to fall in love with.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to try that one too. For me, the lavender vanilla is my favorite. It's the one that's been the most popular with eggheads. I'm also sporting the shirt for our other contender, which is an orange creamsicle. So especially in the summer, these are kind of the way that I describe the egg cream to people in my generation that's out. They don't know it. It's kind of like if a ice cream float at Seltzer got the bottom of an ice cream float. That's kind of like what an egg cream is. So trying to lead it to the top flavors.
Nice. Well, thank you. So, so we are going to have samples of all these beverages for everyone to try. And yeah, I would like to thank all of our panelists. Their information are up on the SeltzerFest website as well. So if you would like to dive into their Instagrams, their websites, read their books, visit their restaurants, or visit their pop-ups, or hire their pop-ups for your next party. Those are all great ideas to pursue. So thank you.
Thank you, Ari. Thank you to our panelists. Our team is making the drinks right now because we know they have to be made fresh, as we've heard. So we want to encourage you to go try drinks. Give us a second to get them all spritzed. And thank you all again for your creativity and for being here. Thank you.